Imagine if we went back in time and gave an NFL team a cheat sheet for the draft, telling them exactly who the best players are in the position they are drafting for the first and second rounds, occasionally giving them a little nudge when it comes to free agency and who they shouldn't let go. What would those teams look like now if they were able to always play the draft perfectly? That's what I'm here to try and answer. So today we're looking at the Titans, and I started on this team early, as in before I did some of these other ones that have already been out. I built this team because I was looking at some of the free agency moves, and I saw what the Titans have done, and I thought to myself, wait a second, have the Titans basically just completed their team, and then are they low-key the champions of free agency right now? Now, of course, if you include trades, I think the undisputed champion of free agency right now are the New England Patriots. However, you take a look at some of the moves the Tennessee Titans have done, and now I'm not saying this team is complete. There are still places they can definitely strengthen. There are still some weakish spots, but they were already a very good team with a couple of spots that needed, shoring out on defense. And in my opinion, they may have just done that in free agency. Now, of course, time will tell if those players turn out to be as important as we may expect them to be or need them to be, but I basically built the current Titans team without adding in any of these what if they'd always drafted perfectly players, and it was already looking pretty good. And then obviously I went ahead and checked what they would look like with all these other players, and they just looked a heck of a lot stronger. So we start on the offensive line, and we start straight away with the 2014 11th overall pick, Taylor Lewan, offensive tackle, left tackle. That was absolutely the correct pick. Then we have Quinton Spain at left guard, Ben Jones at center. Then at right guard in 2013 with the 10th overall pick, the Tennessee Titans selected Chance Warmack. I actually called that a not bad pick straight off the bat, but they could have had Kyle Long instead. And then we move on to the right tackle position, last year's first round pick. It is of course Jack Conklin. Then we move on to the tight end position. Delaney Walker is holding down this position. Anthony Fasano obviously would have been nice depth, but he left for the Miami Dolphins in free agency. And now we move on down to the wide receivers, where we have a lot of recent draft picks, most of whom aren't really even on the team anymore. Let's go oldest to newest, and we start with a guy who has just left the team in 2012 with the 20th overall pick. The Titans selected Kendall Wright. We've gone over who you could have a million times. I think Mohamed Sanu maybe matches kind of what Kendall Wright was there. Then in 2013, with the 34th pick in the draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Justin Hunter at wide receiver. That year you could have had Keenan Allen. Then we move on to the most recent one in 2015 with the 40th pick in the draft. The Tennessee Titans selected Dorial Green Beckham. You could have had Stephon Diggs there, and of course they already have Rashad Matthews on the team, and now all of a sudden the Tennessee Titans, the team, still looking for some wide receivers, has 4 absolute studs. But if you think that's overkill, let's move on to the running back position. We start with last year's second round pick, Derrick Henry. Then in 2014 with the 54th pick in the draft, the Titans selected Bishop Sankey. One of a few available running backs there would have been Devontae Freeman. And then, of course, you can add DeMarco Murray on top of that. Now, I'm sure with Devontae Freeman on the team, maybe they don't trade for DeMarco Murray. This running back position was already overkill with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. You add Devontae Freeman, and you've got pure overkill to ridiculous levels here. Let's move on to the quarterback position, where the overkill doesn't stop. In 2011, with the 8th overall pick, the Tennessee Titans attempted to get their quarterback of the future by selecting Jake Locker. And, of course, in 2015, with the 2nd overall pick, the Tennessee Titans selected their actual quarterback of the future, Marcus Mariota. And to finish off what could probably be one of the most complete offenses we've built in this entire series so far, at the fullback position, Jalston Fowler. And there we have it. Those are the Tennessee Titans if they would have got a couple more of those wide receiver picks right over the last few years. But to be fair, outside of that, this team was already pretty good. Moving on to the defense, and we start with the safeties. And at free safety, an impressive rookie from last year, Kevin Byard, who came on really strong towards the end of the season. And across from him at strong safety, a recent free agent signing, Jonathan Cyprien. Then we move on to the linebackers, and we can just fill in these linebackers as they exist right now. Brian Arakpo at right outside linebacker, Avery Williamson as one inside linebacker, Wesley Woodyard as the other, and then at left outside linebacker, Derek Morgan. However, we can make this group just a little bit better. In 2011, with the 39th pick in the draft, the Titans selected Akeem Ayers at linebacker. Justin Houston is a man they could have taken there, and although it's an already nice looking group of linebackers, all of a sudden it looks a lot better. Now let's move on to the cornerbacks, the position that has been a little bit of a problem spot for the Titans in recent seasons. Our number one guy, I think consistently underrated, Jason McCourty, and then across from him would be another recent free agent signing, 2-time Super Bowl winner Logan Ryan lining up across from McCourty. of course, who he's already played with his twin brother of, and then in the third cornerback position, Bryce McCain. And now this is still the weakest position group, although it is a lot stronger looking already, but I think with a good draft this year, they could almost be a complete team where you can't really find any one single weak spot. Let's move on to the defensive line. At defensive tackle, a man we have replaced with many people on many different teams, Jarrell Casey, Daquan Jones at defensive end, and then at nose tackle, you've got a couple of options here. Sylvester Williams is a man they've just signed in free agency, but they've also got Carl Klug, and now I really am genuinely impressed with this team. Even without the could-have hads, I think it's a very promising looking team. It's got a bit of a mix of old and young, but they are certainly getting younger year after year. Now, someone I did forget to mention until this point, in 2012, with the 52nd overall pick, the Titans selected Zach Brown, who of course was crazy good this year after leaving them in free agency. That was the correct pick. However, I'm not going to go and say they should have kept him. I think they can be pretty happy with who they had, although maybe actually would be a bit of an upgrade at inside linebacker for them. But we're going to stay with their decision to let him go. It was just a correct pick and a decent one at that. And I don't know, man, just keep an eye on these Tennessee Titans.